You are listening to Metal Express. I am Bayley. Stay tuned or be doomed.
2 albums in less than a year. You must be working very hard.
Yeah, we came off the last tour. We finished off by opening up for Halloween around most of Europe, and we went straight off that into writing and rehearsals. We had like a concept and a couple of ideas that we worked out while we were away, and then we just locked ourselves away for about 8 weeks, and then we went into the studio and we managed to get the 10th Dimension together. It's been a really, really difficult album to make. It's been very challenging because we started off with a concept and we decided to make a concept album. So all of the songs on their own should make sense, but when you listen to the whole album together, you should be able to make the connections then that tell the story. And then when you have the artwork too, then you can see another layer. And basically it tells a story of a government conspiracy, and the government are trying to steal the research of a scientist and use it as a weapon. And it's a story of the scientist and how he manages to cope with all of this and what happens to him and as he goes along. So, it was a really tough album to make, but I think at the end of it, when we can sit back and just listen to it, we're so proud of it, and I think personally it's the best thing I've ever done, since the X Factor. So I just think this is the best thing out of all of the recordings that I've made and different producers that I've worked with. I really think that this is the album which has got like the hardest, most aggressive performances on it, and also the most emotional and dynamic performances on it. And I think as a band we wrote this whole album together. All of us collaborated on it, and we've just like whoever's idea, it wasn't important as long as it was good. And it's just worked really well. We're just really, really proud of it, and we hope the fans enjoy it.
The theme or the concept on the album is kind of futuristic. Was that the same with the first one?
Yeah, with the first one, so much is happening in the information age that I read an article in New Scientist which said that soon the capacity will exist to store human consciousness on a hard drive, and that really fired my imagination. And so the basis of the first 3 songs on Silicon Messiah is about that story and what would happen, and the rest of it, because I really enjoy science fiction. Well, we all do in the band. The rest of the album's got a very strong near future and science fiction theme.
How would you describe the differences between the first album, Silicon Messiah, and your new album?
I think there's a lot more diverse influences on this album, and we weren't afraid to experiment. As on Meant to Be, there's a female choir and a string section, that kind of thing. I think it makes for more interesting listening. It's not your more... I think on Silicon Messiah there was a more basic verse, chorus, midsection kind of structure on most of the songs, but with this I think there's a lot more diversity in the songwriting.
For those who doesn't know your new band yet, how would you describe the difference between Blaze and Wolfsbane and Iron Maiden?
I'd say really that with this band I had just had an opportunity which is very, very rare in music, where you can actually choose the musicians that you play with. A lot of times when you're younger and you get in a band together, it's just whoever you know that can play the bass or play the drums, that they may be into funk or rap or whatever. But you say, well, will you play in my band? But I was in a very fortunate situation. I had a little bit of a name in the world of metal music, and a lot of musicians knew about me and that I'd been in Wolfsbane and Iron Maiden. And so I was able to find people who had the same kind of live background as I had, coming up from pubs and clubs and been playing at that level, and people who really wanted to do it because they loved metal music, not just to be rich or famous, or not because they thought it was a cool thing to do, but that were interested and loved the music. And that was the most important thing, because in the end, if you're not writing from the heart and you don't believe in what you're doing, then I don't think it will be successful, because I think you can just hear that, and I think fans can hear that. So that was it, really. So I think that was the big difference, was in Wolfsbane we got together like from school, and in Iron Maiden I was a part of someone else's band, and I was, you know, a part of that band. But in this band it's like, well, okay, I know there are great talented musicians out there, and all I have to do is just find them. And there's a lot of people who play metal music that have never had the opportunity to release an album or make an album, but are really talented musicians. And I was lucky enough to be able to find 4 of them for my band.
You said your albums, they are band efforts. But do you think your music would have sounded this way without your Iron Maiden experience?
Oh, definitely not. You know, working with Steve Farris and Yannick Gers' songwriting gave me so much confidence, which I didn't have in my Wolfsbane days. And working with people of that stature and all that, I learned so much, and it gave me so much confidence that when we started writing together in this band, it was like I was very, very focused, and I had a much better idea of how to get the idea from my head to make sense on tape, which I never had that before. So I think that was the biggest thing, and I really wanted to work with 2 guitars, because I enjoyed it so much in Maiden, having the 2 guitars there and different figures and solos, and still having the power chords underneath, and a lot of different things that you can do with 2 guitars. So I really wanted to do that as well.
I think a lot of people who are coming to the show tonight still don't know the band Blaze, but they know Wolfsbane and also Iron Maiden, of course. Do you play Maiden and Wolfsbane songs on your concerts?
Yes, we do. Tonight it's a very short set, so we've got a couple of Maiden ones in there and some Silicon Messiah and 10th Dimension. But on our headline shows, which is about 2 hours long, then we play some Wolfsbane songs as well.